My name is Professor Peter Stokes. I'm from Democracy University in the UK, and I'm the chair of this panel. We have two examiners, we have your supervisor, and we also have a practitioner online. So I'm going to allow those people to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start, if that's okay. Michel, could you perhaps introduce yourself first, please, as you're online?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, my name is Michel Zinnkann. I'm today here in your thesis defense to show more a practitioner view. I myself did this. I was in the same situation as you are now in a year ago, so I can totally feel how you are feeling at the moment. It's just 90 minutes, so not a big deal. Yeah, at the moment I work as a management consultant, and I'm very happy to see your presentation today.
Thank you, Michel. I'm going to hand over to Anne now. You can present yourself.
Yes, thank you. I'm Bartel-Radic. I'm a professor of management, international management at Grenoble University, and yeah, you've already read my report, so we almost know each other a little bit through your document and report. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Marc, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Okay, I will be the second member. I'm very pleased to be with you. My name is Marc. I'm from Côte d'Azur University in the south of France, between Nice and Monaco, and I teach international human resources management, and I've been many times in Asia, Thailand, China, so it's really a pleasure to be with you today.
And you know, of course, your supervisor, Lars, who's also with us to provide support today. So my job here is, as president of the jury, Rick, is to ensure that you are provided with the fullest opportunity to present your work in the best light possible, which I'm sure you're going to do. I'm here to support you. We're all here to facilitate the best performance from you, and we wish you well in the conversation we're going to have. Before we start, do you have any immediate points or questions you just want to clear up, or are you okay to start?
Actually, I'm okay, but just feel a bit pity that I was not able to join in person because of the strict control from China. So it's quite a pity, but I do hope in the coming years, whenever I hope next the coming months, we will have the relief policy from Chinese government. Then in the next international weeks, I do hope I still have the chance to visit all the professors in place.
Thank you, Rick. We share that, and we recognise it, and we recognise the constraint on you, and thank you for making yourself available today online.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to start your defence of the Viva now. So I'm going to open the questioning. I'm going to hand over to Anne, who's going to lead on with some initial conversation and questions with you. Over to you.
After the presentation.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting jumped. That, of course, was just the tentative question to check everybody was paying attention.
It's only reference. We didn't have any point.
Apologies. Sorry. Okay, Rick, sorry, apologies. Yes, of course. You're going to do your presentation. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, yeah, I will start. Yep. Dear Professor, dear Jerry, my name is Rick, working as a plant manager in Thailand since 2019 for the third largest automotive component company, ZF Group. My research is focusing on the impact of culture on organizational commitment, job and organizational performance. It's an empirical investigation in Thai and the Chinese automotive manufacturing firm. My supervisor is Professor Meyer. In this presentation, we use OC and OP as abbreviation of organizational culture and organizational performance. I will cover introduction, research model, literature review, methodology, followed by results and implication, closing with implication, implementation and future research directions. Benefiting from the stable economic environment and the growing market forecast, Thailand has become the biggest manufacturing base at the emerging region in South Asia. As the biggest regional base of multinational corporation in South Asia, not only serving for the local market, but also as a manufacturing base and a transportation hub for the global market. Japanese firm, US firm, and European firms are all located in the industry area. Then we have to ask the question, how well is the MNC corporate culture coping with the local national culture? What is the impact when the global corporate culture collides with the national culture? Are the MNCs performing well and effectively in the region or not? From above questions, we generate our leading question. What is the impact of national and organizational culture on organization commitment, job, and organizational performance? We did a literature research from the Penny South database from the past 5 years to check the topic relevance. There are above 900 articles from the academic journals with the keyword organizational culture in the title. When we use the 3 keywords, culture, commitment, and performance, only 36 articles. None of them are related to the Chinese industry, and none of them are related to the comparison between Thai and the Chinese culture. So from the topic relevance point of view, we see the gap in the existing literatures on this topic within the specific context. From the literature, only a few studies carried out on large sample size. Quite a few researchers are limited to certain specific OC dimension, single sector, or specific regions without wider generalizability. Most of all, only a very handful of literatures are from top 8 journals. As differentiation, our study includes a cross-cultural study, big sample size, and most importantly, company annual survey protocol and operation records. From our leading managerial questions, we developed the first part of our conceptual model. We hypothesize that organizational culture positively impacts organization commitment and job performance as H1 and H2. Organization commitment positively impacts job performance as H3. The first key concept of this study is organizational culture, namely OC, which is defined as the pattern of shared basic assumptions learned by the group members to solve the problems and the difficulties related to the internal integration and external adaptation. In this study, we mainly take reference of Denison's OC dimension, which is a widely cited model of OC research. Denison defines OC with 4 variables: adaptability and mission on the upper with external focus, involvement and consistency at the lower with internal focus. Adaptability and involvement after the left side are representing the flexible trait. Mission and consistency at the right side are representing the stable trait. Organization commitment is defined as the strength of an individual's identification with and involvement in a particular organization. Based on the literature, we formulate our H1. OC positively influenced organization commitment. Job performance is defined as the position of organization behaviors, thus its accomplishment of organization, and it's contingent with the excellent performance by its human resource. As per literature findings, we formulate our H2. OC positively influenced job performance, and H3, organization commitment positively influenced job performance. In the second part of our conceptual model, we include organization performance and the national culture of Thailand and China as moderator of our hypothesized links. We select 1 plant from Thailand and 3 plants from China, 1 in the northeast, 1 in the east coast, 1 in the middle of our mainland, to increase the representativeness of China samples. Organization performance, namely OP, is defined as the actual output of an organization obtained when measured against its intended goal and objectives. According to the literature, we hypothesize H4. OC positively impacts OP, and H5, job performance positively impacts OP. National culture is defined as an individual's knowledge, beliefs, and means, codes being followed. Hofstede developed one of the most famous model of national culture dimension, which has been cited most in the national culture research. There are 6 dimensions in the model: power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. From the comparison between China and Thailand, we can find a similarity in individualism, and also the significant differences in masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term orientation. From the interesting comparison, we want to see the moderation impact from the national culture to the relationships in our conceptual model as H6. This is an overall summary of the methodologies. In part 1, quantitative online survey, we yield the total sample 881, China 695, Thailand 186. For OC, we adapted from Denison scale. For organization commitment, we use a company annual employee commitment survey with 6 indexes: employee commitment, respect, learning, integrity, result orientation, and company guiding principle. For job performance, we carry over the company annual employee performance evaluation protocol with 4 indexes: result orientation, innovation approach, customer focus, and commitment to people. In the second step, qualitative data is included. We use the company operational record as the objective OP, including employee voluntary turnover as HR performance, failure cost as quality performance, productivity as financial performance. We interview the regional management team as key stakeholders as a subjective OP. Hofstede national culture value is used for cross-country comparison. Reliability and convergent validity satisfies academic norms. We find a discriminant validity issue between OC and employee commitment. After eliminating some of the highly correlated items, we optimize the model into the one shown on the slide with good model fit. The past analysis result shows OC positively impacts employee commitment and employee performance. Employee commitment positively impacts employee performance. So hypothesis 1, 2, and 3 are all accepted in the first part of the model. In the second step, OP is added into the structure equation model. We confirm H5 that employee performance positively impacts OP, and the impact is strong when using subjective stakeholder rating as OP. But unexpectedly, we don't see any positive impact from OC to OP. This is mainly because of the contextual reasons. OC of Changzheng plant is the weakest due to its JV nature, but with the best objective KPI from its matured production. Zhangjiagang plant holds the strongest OC, but the objective KPIs are all below average. And yet, they got a higher evaluation from the stakeholders due to its complexity and the new launches. Rayon plant holds also weak OC, but with the best HR performance due to its lowest people turnover. But from the correlation table, HR and the quality performance are significantly and positively correlated with each dimension of OC. So H4 is partially supported. The structure equation model of China and the Thailand group shows the comparison from the country difference. The impact of OC on employee commitment for the Thai plant is higher than Chinese group. Thailand is a very high uncertainty avoidance society. People have the tendency to stay in jobs, even they dislike their job. While China is a low uncertainty avoidance society, and job hopping is much more common. This is precisely reflected in our research data, since all 3 Chinese plants have a much higher people turnover than the Thailand plant. China is also higher in power distance, which has a negative effect on perceived company support and outcomes, such as organization commitment. According to literature, although Thai culture and Chinese culture are both very collective, differences still exist. Thai people tend to avoid conflict as far as possible within their big life cycle, while the personal relationship for Chinese people prevail over task and company. Their commitment to organization is lower than the personal loyalty. OC has a significant and positive impact on employee performance for China group, while no significant effect in Thai plant. being very low in uncertainty avoidance, Chinese people have lower stress, are more curious about a deviant idea, and more open to change. Furthermore, China is a masculine society. Work prevails over family. In addition, China is a very long-term oriented society. Chinese people view traditions as adaptable to the changing situation, and also trying to learn from others and attributing success to effort instead of luck. The impact of employee commitment on employee performance in Thai plant is higher than the Chinese group. Thailand is relatively lower in power distance. Literature supports that power distance has a negative effect on perceived support and job performance. This is in line with what we observed. Overall, employee commitment of Thai plant is much higher than the Chinese group, which provides a rather comfortable working environment for people to perform. The impact of employee performance on OP in Thai plant is much higher than the Chinese group. Thai plant's low power distance results in very low employee turnover. Higher employee commitment leads to higher employee performance, which leads to higher OP, since the success of organizations relies on the outstanding performance from their employee. On the other side, higher people turnover in Chinese group due to higher power distance value and the dynamic job market negatively influence, because higher performance people may leave the company for outside opportunity and may jeopardize the OP. Conclusion in short, all hypotheses are confirmed except each four got partial support. As there is no recent research in the context of manufacturing firm with Asia culture, from theoretical implications, we mainly contribute to below two areas. First of all, we empirically test the relationship of organization and the national culture, organization commitment, job and organization performance in Thailand and China to compare and increase the external validity. Secondly, we illustrate the impact of national culture on the corporate culture adaptation in the context of manufacturing firm based in Thailand and China. As the picture indicated, all these cultural differences between China and Thailand are well proven and reflected in our cross-cultural study and in-depth case studies. Thus, we contribute to both management theory and practice. From methodology contribution, we combine academic measurement skills and the use of company operational data and evaluation protocol. From managerial implications, first of all, we recommend managers to build up a strong and fit organization culture, to unite employees together to strive for their best performance at work. We bring up the importance of cultural awareness, especially for the business leaders in the MNCs when dealing with employee commitment in different regions. Also, aligning the commitment at each level of the organization can avoid strong commitment only within smaller group. Training, learning, cross-culture, and cross-function team building are all highly recommended. Empowerment must be taken full consideration of the local context. This research responds to the call on international human resource management that it is time for all of us to reflect on and extend accumulated wisdom generated by the field of IHRM to enhance the society's ability in the critical changing conditions. We encourage managers to use more empowering leadership instead of authoritarian leadership. Motivate the team with more bottom-up approach. We consider Thailand as a high uncertainty avoidance and a collective society, so group assignment may be more proper than the individual assignment. We recommend managers to evaluate employees' perception of power distance by conducting regular employee satisfaction survey as health check for appropriate follow-up actions. The intention to avoid uncertainty is the handcuff of the change initiatives. According to the literature and our in-depth case study, unlike the Chinese culture, Thai culture does not embrace uncertainty. Although the well-educated young generation, especially from Bangkok area, are gradually changing to be more open, but the fundamental core value from agricultural society will last much longer. Even the strong OC like IBM, the national culture influence still prevails, as Hofstede proved in his study. So we recommend transparent communication and the decision-making process to enhance the involvement and mitigate the uncertainty avoidance intention when implementing changes. All hands meeting, incentives, and the reward mechanisms, risk assessment tool are all necessary means to achieve that. For Chinese organizations, people are more result-driven. We recommend managers put more effort on empowerment, creating changes, customer focus, strategic direction, and visions. For Thai organizations, people are in favor of group action. So we recommend managers to allocate resources to team orientation, capability development, coordination, and integration. We suggest the managers to set objectives for both organizational level and individual level, for both short-term and long-term, and set up action plans to monitor and evaluate along the way. As a Chinese saying, a long journey can be covered only by taking one step at a time. In terms of societal implication, we urge organizations to match and align with the societal norms and values and protect people's well-being. We highlight that sustainable economic growth requires organizations to provide opportunities for people to receive training and education for quality jobs, which eventually benefits the long-term success of organizations. From our stakeholders interview, they all place the highest importance on people, just like another Chinese saying, the water that carries the boat is the same that swallows it. The well-being and the decent work are basics for people. Economic growth in a balanced and a sustainable manner relies on the reduction of inequities. We do have several limitations in our research. The dynamics of OC is not considered due to time constraint. A longitudinal research would be very much recommended. Wider country difference is also preferred for future research. Replication can be extended to other regions. COVID pandemic limits the activity and the resource. Governmental influence would also be a further element to add. Cultural diversity within the organization is not in our main scope of the study, which can be an interesting investigation direction in the future when we look into organizations like Engineering R&D Center. As last point, our other cultural models can also be used to enrich the validity. Okay, thank you very much, dear professors and Jerry, for your attention. So I would appreciate very much if you have any suggestions or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much indeed. So we're going to move to the wider questions and conversation now. And the way we're going to do that, I'm saying this as much for the benefit of Michel, who's remotely joining me, is we're going to start with Anne, then go to Marc, and then Michel will go to you next. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Anne now.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Maybe this slide is not, maybe you can stop sharing your screen, or are you sharing the screen? Because we can see only very small. Rick, maybe you can stop sharing your screen so we can see you better. And if ever we want to come back to one of the other slides, we can still do that again. Now we can still see the picture and your screen. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we can see you much better. I think that's a little bit more as if you were in the room. And yeah, of course, we fully understand that you could not come here, but and we could hear you correctly, but still, I try to speak slowly so you can correctly hear me, and please tell if we have some sound or noise problem. Okay, so thank you for inviting me into this jury. And as you know, I'm very interested in your topic. I'm interested in international and intercultural management. So it was a pleasure to read your thesis last summer and to report on your thesis. As I've also said earlier in my report, but let me say it again here. So I think it's a really very interesting and relevant topic to look at cultural issues in international management, and there has been a lot of research already, but there's still a lot of things to be discovered, and describing a specific context is still lacking in many respects, and there's also a very Western-centered, the field is, or the publications are very quite Western centered. There has been more and more research on China, but still have a comparison within Asia between Thailand and China. I think this is a very relevant aspect and lacking to the field overall. So that's really interesting. I will get into the details of your work right after, but after the report, after both of our reports, we've sent you. You did a big job of important of integrating four elements and answering our concerns, and that's really also very positive. So because well, sometimes it's maybe difficult to see for people from the outside, but research is an ongoing process, and we stand here at a very crucial moment, of course, of your research. But it's always going on, and it's what we are having here is a scientific discussion, and you show that you fully understood how the process is working by really integrating a lot of aspects. So I'm still discussing some of the points I've raised in my report, so that you also know where the discussion is going. But I really appreciated that you reworked your thesis so thoroughly. To make more comments about the work you did within your DPA thesis, you did a large quantitative study with quite sophisticated methods like structural equations modeling, which is really not done at all in all of the DBA thesis or even quantitative thesis. So this is also a very positive aspect of your work. Your dissertation is very clearly structured, but not only the overall structure of the document, but even with you, it's a very classical kind of structure, but that was well about including hypotheses and then systematically testing the hypothesis and making your contributions in regard of these hypotheses. So this is also a very positive point, and which not all of the DBA doctors can say that they have implemented such sophisticated methods of analysis. What's also nice is that you combine quantitative and qualitative methodologies. So you have a mixed methods approach, which is also a very good point. But maybe this would be one of my remarks or questions here. In your presentations, we've seen your structural equations models. We see much less the qualitative part of your research. So maybe one of my, let's say, how many questions? 3 questions. I have 3. One of my questions would be, could you say a little bit more about your qualitative work in addition to the quantitative one, and what you conclude from that in terms of insights, but also in terms of your look at these methodologies. Was it how do qualitative methodologies add to the quantitative one? Or maybe you can say a little bit more about what the qualitative part of your research added to the quantitative study. Would be my first question. I tell you of the question. If you want me to repeat later, feel free to do so. Another point which I also raised in my report was about the different concepts you're including in the. In fact, I have 4 questions. Sorry. Sorry, but I try to go fast, and you can feel free to give short answers, or not to answer all of the questions if you want. You can do anything to be curious. Sorry. So the second one question is about the different concepts you included about organizational cultures, organizational commitment, engagement. So you have various concepts from the organizational organizational theory, organizational behavior literature. And as I mentioned in my report, that sometimes I have the feelings that these questions or these concepts, but also how you measure them, are quite close. And sometimes I'm wondering whether how different they really are. I have a very easy question for you on that, and you answered also to that. But I have maybe I don't know if it's an easy question, but maybe if you were to redo your work and maybe reduce the number of concepts, because maybe there were many, which one at the end of the process, which one seems the most interesting to you? And if you had to keep only one or two, or for further publications, if you were to keep only some of these various concepts, which one seems finally the most relevant to you, given your field and your results, etc. The third one, something I also raised in my report, is that in the field of intercultural management is in fact structured in my interpretation, and maybe some others share, is structured into two parts. There's a part with cross-cultural comparisons, looking at management and organizational behavior in one country and another, so Thailand and China in your work. And another part, and they are not so often connected, not always, and another part of the field is about intercultural management, how people from different cultures interact and what this does to organizations and so forth. And you answered to that well also in your revision, but in my first reading of your dissertation, I was wondering which one were you were most interested in. You say in your revision it's more comparative, but finally, in your presentation, you can still see both. So maybe you can say some more words about how you situate your work in the part of it is in the intercultural aspect, how a Chinese company is going to Thailand, because there's something really intercultural in the work. And and I think in the thesis you on the cross-cultural part you answered it somehow. So maybe you can say some more words about that aspect. And my last point is very related to that. You conclude saying more about, and your last slide, you also have the Hofstede scores again and the comparison between Thailand and China. And you give more insights on how to manage people in Thailand, how to manage people in China. So my question would be, do your results contribute, or somehow would it be necessary to revise Hofstede's scores? Because you start with that and then you give a lot of descriptions and insights. In your opinion, do they fit the reality you've observed, or do you think it would be necessary to revise them? Because you say in your conclusion, these are two cultures that are quite close in terms of power distance and other aspects, seen from a Western point of view, which is lacking deeper insight. And so, but the literature is described as close, and I think it's really interesting to go deeper into a comparison into cultures that maybe seem to outsiders as maybe close, but in fact, if you have a deeper look, they are not. Maybe you can say some more words about Hofstede's values fit what you've observed in terms of differences between.
Irrelevant.
Are they still relevant? Or I don't think it's a limitation that they are close. I think it's a contribution of your work to compare cultures that might seem close. So that's it.
So Rick,
feel free to pick some of them if you don't want to answer everything.
So Rick, just to summarize very quickly, you've got 4 questions that Anne's put to you there. One really about the role of qualitative research in your work. More on that, please. The other one is about the range of concepts you've got going on in your work. Would you distill them down and perhaps focus on one, essentially, having looked back on the work now? The other one is about positioning your work in relation to the field of cross-cultural management, whether it's intercultural, cross-cultural, comparative, what do you really see your work as? And finally, how accurate was Hofstede based on your own experiences? Over to you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Professor Radic. Yeah, reading your questions from the report, it's to be honest, it's quite hard to answer all of that. But I have been tried to integrate them as much as I can, as you suggested, and they are all very valid points. So first of all, to your question about qualitative work. Actually, I do believe that really add values to my research because as I comment in one of the slides in my presentation, when we use the qualitative data, which is the interview results from the stakeholders, then the connection seems even stronger compared to the subjective numbers, those KPIs. All those numbers are code numbers. But when we interview the key stakeholders, the regional management teams, they can provide all their feelings and options based on the full consideration of the context of each plant, where they are, what are they doing, why they feel the plant is doing good or bad. So those results definitely can be more contextual. And so although I interviewed them as a qualitative work, but in the end, I still somehow structured them into the comparable data, so I can put them back to the structured equation model to compare. So overall, it adds value and also explains why using the first conceptual model, why relationship does not really make sense. And also, like what you suggested, I go deeper to the not only to the country different culture, but also to the culture understanding a little bit deeper to each plant. And then combining with all the interview results, then it really helps me to even explain the results out of the step 2 models. To your second question, that's also very good point, which we also figured out when we do the pretest. But after discussing with some of the professors from BSI, we also decided to continue with the large scale survey with the OC concept and also the employee commitment concept with several reasons. Actually, I highlighted it in the report, but I also want to pick up some of the key points to mention. First of all, the organizational culture dimension. Actually, this is adapted from Denison's dimension, but the original dimension is quite long. I figured it could be very time-consuming for the respondents to finish everything. And because we, as also you mentioned, we added a lot of other construct into the survey. So to make it easier for the respondent to complete the whole survey within 10 or 15 minutes. So we dropped a lot of questions and only remain some of the dimensions and the questions which are related to the other constructs which we are looking in. So for example, employee commitment or let's say organizational commitment are the construct which is related to the OC. Maybe this is the reason why we see a lot of strong correlations from that. But after discussion with the professors from BSI, we still would like to proceed into the next step with several reasons. First of all, we want to reduce the overall length of the survey. And then secondly, the employee commitment survey, which is carried from the company annual employee survey. This is a well-known and a familiar survey for all the respondents. So we don't want to change or adapt from that to confuse the employees. On the other side, we want to keep the whole employee commitment survey from the company to collect as much as the valid data from the large scale respondents. So in the future, whenever who from the key stakeholder team or the management team, they want to look into the data and find out some insights, so they have the flexibility to study the results. And and also we see that some of the dimension is strongly correlated during the pre-test, but we believe that when we add into the final data analysis phase, we still have the flexibility to see which dimension or which construct we might need to adapt or even drop some of the dimensions to improve the constructability. So that's also the reason. We noticed your concern, and also this is the reason why we proceed like that. And also to your third point, the intercultural diversity. This is a really very good point, but I think personally, I feel this is a more a qualitative aspect of the research. In my first concept, it's more related to the quantitative data with a big amount of respondents. And even in the second step, I interviewed some of the key stakeholders to understand the organizational culture deeper, and also, like you suggested, to embed the differences from the national culture, but also, although they are not really related to the intercultural diversity, intercompany within one organization. But this is also, like I mentioned in the report back to you, because in our plants, especially in our 4 plants within the study, most of them are from the single region. Only exception is me as an expat in Thailand plant. All the other employee, no matter they are salary people from the office or direct laborers in the shop floor, they are all from the single regions. So this point is hard for me to look into. So maybe this is also the main reason, as I mentioned in the limitation section. But I do. I was enlightened by your question. If I can do the following research in the future to select different engineering development center or sales organization or purchasing organization from European countries or other Asia cultures, or even compare the North American organizations, then it would be a very interesting investigation direction. Because, for example, in our R&D centers, no matter in Germany or in US, it's really very diversified peoples within one team. So that could be very interesting for me if I have the chance to look into the future research. Your last question, the Hofstede value in my research, are they still valid or not? I have to say, what I observed, particularly from Thailand and China, the differences are really being well reflected. No matter from the step 1, the quantitative, or from the step 2, qualitative interview, it's really well reflected. Also, when I read Hofstede's latest books, he also mentioned that the cultural value is somehow able to be changed gradually after several decades. I think that's also the main reason why after his first study at 1980, so 30 years later, even in 2010, he still rechecked and revised that, but he still proved that most of the values still valid even after 3 decades. But this is a still valid question, because right now a lot of new technologies, even disruptive technologies coming. So the world is changing very quick, even much faster than And also on the other side, no matter from economic point of view or from the sustainability point of view, the global cultures, we all believe or we hope we are being more united. So maybe it will be harmonized in some way, but it could be a valued direction to look into in another maybe many years to revise that to see whether that's still valid. At least from my report, I can prove that the value between Thailand and China are still very well valid and accurate.
Okay, right.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
answers.
I'm mindful time's passing and we've got two other questions for people to bring in. Are you okay with that?
Perfectly. Thank you very much for your answers. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectly fine with your answers.
You can feed in some comments later. That'd be great. So
I will be brief.
we'll pass the floor to Marc, and then Michel will bring you in. Is that okay? Okay. So Marc,
thank you very much. And the dossier to her, really congratulations. I did enjoy a lot with work, and it's a complete privilege to be a member of this panel. Thank you to your president, Lars, as well. Thank you. But as well, it's from this situation the panel, we are open in intercultural panel. Frederick as well. Nobody thank you to you, but anyway, you do a very good job with BSI, so we need to say that. I did appreciate really your work, your written work, and your raw defense. I think both of them are very similar, and it's one of the best ones I've heard this year. I've been working a lot on empowerment process and intercultural management, and I guess your DBA addresses a subject that is not new, but still topical. We need more studies on this subject in order to compare and to go further with Thailand and China. They are so big countries that we need to make many more research to learn it. The presentation of the document is very clear. The literature review is very complete, and the bibliography is particularly neat. So that methodology with the mixed method is very well defined and well applied. So the data is well analyzed, and the whole process is very rigorous. Congrats to both of you. Really, what I did when I read the document, first a theoretical framework. You know, when we try to analyze in intercultural management, time to time students, they don't have the right references or white spaces. In this document, it's the opposite side. It's very coherent, and you went on. And what I did enjoy in your work is organizational commitment. You try to analyze it, but above all, the relationship between job performance and this organizational commitment is well managed in the document. You did very well. So my first question, in order to be brief, will be about Thailand. I love this country, and I want to try to understand this aspect of why. You told me, and you wrote that on the document. Do you see how Thai perform different version of the why? You did a qualitative study. You want to explain to us its specificity. It's very different from the Chinese one. This is my first question. The second one will be on innovation. As far as we want to go on job satisfaction and work performance, we need to deal with this aspect of innovation. And you went on different pages in your document regarding the findings, and you tried to analyze that. My question would be, do you confirm that managers should pay attention to training of empowerment leadership? It's not only psychological empowerment on each side, or organizational on the other one, but really how to raise, how to help leaders in order to become really strong and active in that way. And do you mind to give some words on this aspect in China or in Thailand? It's really up to you. But I would like to hear you regarding that. My last question, I promise to be brief, would be on your recommendation, because you just said that one of them, the number 5, we need to set incentives and rewards. It was written, and it's very relevant on that. How to go further with this aspect? Do you think we could provide the same fringe benefits and premium in Thailand, in automotive makers, in China? Is it the same one, or do we need to check and to be on a different way? I would like to hear you on this aspect. And thank you very much indeed. Congratulations again. It's an excellent work. And I've been really impressed really reading that. And I will share it with my other students to say, look, you have an example now. Do the same as me. This is the example of a mixed method. Congratulations, really. And I would like to hear you with these 3 questions. Thanks.
Okay, so Rick, you've got 3 questions there. One, looking at the particular nature of Thailand, the specificity of Thailand compared to China, and thinking about that.
Why and the why
And the why. And the why. And should managers pay attention to empowerment leadership? Something about the China and Thai context there in relation to that question. And then recommendation number 5, incentives and rewards. Could we provide the same fringe benefits in Thailand and China? Something like that. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Marc.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Valax, for all your comments. Thanks for that. To your first question about the particular Thai greeting gesture, why? Yeah, I just made one very simple or one easy example in the report back to both of you professors, but that's just one of the observation of the why. Like what you asked me, is this why being changed during the modern age? But I have to say, no matter the new age, the young people or the very traditional old generations or middle age generations, they all pay very, very highly, let's say, very strict to follow this route, because this greeting gesture is one of the most distinguishing manifestation of the Thai culture. Whenever you arrive Thailand airport, the first gesture you will receive is the why, like this. So this hasn't been changed at all. And also during my cultural awareness training with different group of teams from different cultural background, the Thai professor also explained the why and how to place the why and how to reply the why, explained a lot to us, because this is also a very let's say the most complex gesture in the Thai culture, because it depends on various contextual situations between the young and the elders, between the boss and the subordinates, between the customer and also the suppliers, and also between the young girl and the young boy. It's even from the first conversation or 30 minutes later, all different types of why can be observed to reflect the Thai culture. So the why is really one of the most interesting and distinguishing gesture which I observed and learned in my past 3 years in Thailand. And your second question about the empowerment. I also place quite high emphasis in my thesis and also in the implication section. The empowerment is really important, and because we cannot we cannot implement the empowerment leadership style in the same way as what we do in the Western culture. Like Professor Radic also mentioned, the organizational culture and a lot of HR interventions, most of them are streamlined and developed based on the Western culture. But in the Asia culture, even Japan, Korea, China, Thailand, Vietnam, seems they are close. But due to the different cultural value of the power distance, for example, particularly, so we have to really implement the empowerment in a very, very contextual ways. And also particularly back to Thailand, as I just mentioned, due to the very high uncertainty avoidance, and the people, they do not really want to receive any vague instruction or any vague empowerment. Rather than empowerment, I believe Thai people, they would rather be enabled instead of be empowered, because they want to have a very, very crystal clear instruction from the management of what to do and how to do and when to deliver. If you give them a general task, when to or what to do, they will get easily lost. So the empowerment is one of the very delicate point, or I would recommend all the international managers to play very high intention on. And the last point to your question, those governmental influence and also all those policies from different regions, like what you highlight as well in your question, those FTAs and all the other positive policies. I think, for example, in your report, these two policies are very positive for the foreign organization running business in Thailand. They provide taxable privilege, and they give a strong incentives for the organizations. So they will definitely help to improve the organization performance. And also recently signed, I think by the end of last year, a very big RECP agreement between 11 countries in South Asia, even including Japan and China and Australia. Those are all the positive governmental influence, very positive policy to boost the economic, and will help, definitely help the help the organization performance. But the implementation time in different countries is not defined very clearly yet. And what kind of product will get the first wave of tax privilege is still being investigated. It's not really a final announced. So we only know the first wave of the product from RECP has been defined, and what will be the second wave or the third wave are still coming. So it really takes some time for all the foreign organizations to understand what kind of a benefit it will bring. And on the other side, like I also touched just a little bit in my reply back to what you mentioned are the positive policies to help the organization performance. But on the other side, in China, in the recent years or months, we are facing very strict COVID control policies, the zero COVID policy, which we really, we cannot endure any longer. We don't like it. And we all see that kind of policy is influencing not only the economic situation in China, but also influencing all the business partners doing with Chinese organizations. So those are very, very negative. And we hope it will be able to change in the very coming months. Otherwise, yeah, the governmental policy influence will be very, very how to say decisive for the organization's organizational performance. But then link back to the earlier question from Professor Radic. I think both of you give me some connection. Although your questions are different, but I think if I pick one of the most important elements, if I would look into deeper in the future, Professor Valax, for me, I would really look into the governmental influence. I will consider that into the model, how to put that into the model for the future research. And Professor Radic, from what you asked me earlier, actually, I would choose, if I have to drop a lot of other constructs or dimensions, in the end, I would choose maybe empowerment and organizational change. I would select those two as a very critical element to looking deeper. Professor Valax, I hope I answered your questions in some way.
Thank you very much indeed. It was very precise and you did a lot of connections between variables. So congrats again. Really, it's very, very interesting and the response was very convincing. Thanks a lot. I congratulate you.
Thank you, Marc. Michel, you've been diligently patient remotely from us. Thank you for your patience. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you first of all for the invitation to the jury. Thank you, Rick, for your presentation. The thesis was very interesting and easy to read for me. It was well structured from my point of view and with a lot of practical findings and recommendations. So I have two questions to you. One is in regard to your quantitative data collection. Do you see it as a critical point that your questionnaire was sent from the site management and HR to the employees in regard of being forced to take part and in regard on the honest answers? Because, for example, I think the first or second question was, did you apply to another company or another job in the last 6 months? And how do you took that into account in your research? This would be my first question. And the second one is to the managerial contributions. What is the impact of your practical findings and recommendations to your personal professional responsibilities as key account manager and for your company? Because you did the research in your company, so it would be very interesting. What will your company do with your findings? Thank you.
Thank you, Michel. So just to summarize, I couldn't hear you that well. I hope Rick could hear you. Rick, did you hear Michel okay?
I hear the first question quite okay. So during the data collection phase, Michel asked me some of the questions. For example, have you considered to leave the company in the past 6 months?
Yeah.
But I hear some of that, but I didn't exactly
okay,
what is
so I can ask it again. So
the first question was about your questionnaire and the second one was about your findings and implications and the impact. But Michel, it might be valuable if you could just very quickly repeat the two questions, please. Broadly.
yeah, I will do so.
So
the first question was, do you see it as a critical point that your questionnaire was sent from the site management and HR to the employees in regard on being forced to take part and on the honesty of the answers? Got that? Okay. The second question is, what is the impact of your practical findings and recommendations to your personal professional responsibilities as key account manager and in your company? Because you did the research in your company, so it would be very interesting what your company will do with your findings.
Okay, we got that very clearly now, Michel. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Rick, did you get that?
Yeah, I get it very clear.
Okay. Rick, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Michel, for your very practical questions. To design the survey and also to think about what kind of methodology we want to distribute the survey to get the best answer and very decent and honest answer from all the respondents. We really thought about that. And also I got a lot of suggestions from my supervisor, Professor Meyer, and also from the other supervisors, the other professors' suggestions from BSI. Thanks for that. So yeah, to avoid the bias from the answers, the self-administrated survey answers, we selected to use we don't need any respondent to say who are they or what is their name, and we don't even want to collect any information to give us any indication who are they. So we don't need to know that. We only need to know which department they are from. Are they female or are they male? Which location are they from? So in that way, we hope we provide possibility of provide a freedom for the respondents to answer in a very free way. And also we make this very crystal clear in the survey that all the data related to any individual respondent will not be used or disposed to the stakeholders. As for example, the regional management, we will not disclose any individual's answer. But we will only collect the big data to analyze the trend, and that might be used for the regional management team to provide some useful insight. I think that also connects to your second question. So from this study, what kind of benefits we can generate for the company? So first of all, for myself, after 3 years reading and doing the study, first of all, I know the culture much better. I have to say it's not the culture much better. I have to say I know the cultural differences much better now. What is different compared to where I came from, for example, China. So in Thailand, a lot of culture, a lot of people, how do they do things are different. In the first couple of months when I landed in Thailand, starting my job, I didn't understand. I frustrated for a while, but during the research, I started to understand the cultural difference. I started to understand people, what is the intention they behave like that, and what would be their outcome. Or then I adjust the way I behave as a leader. So for sure, that directly helps me to manage the local team in a better way, and also helped me to understand which kind of leadership they prefer. Although I have to slow down to choose a different way compared to my previous working style in China, or communicate with the other Western colleagues, I have to slow down somehow. But along the time, when I start to build the connection and get the trust and start to engage the activities according to the particular culture customs, then it becomes more fluctuant. I think that's also part of Professor Valax's question. Yeah, the empowerment leadership in different countries, it's really different for leaders to implement. Maybe, for example, in China, it's very easy. The employee who received the empowerment might they can feel being honored. But on the other side, in Thailand, when the employee receives the empowerment, they perceive it in a very, very different way. First of all, they might perceive that leaders is trying to get lazy. And on the other side, if the leader is giving a vague task, then the employee might not feel being honored at all. On the other side, they might feel being very burdened. So this is what I learned and what I how to help me to manage the local organization in a better way. And also, if looking bigger, then all the data collected and also all the interviews what I did with the regional leadership teams makes them aware that this is a very relevant and a very important topic. So I also in some way bring their attention to understand why the people are behaving in a different way in different regions, in different plants, in different locations. And they are all very interested to receive my results and to help them or even to give them some suggestions how they can adjust their management style or develop some actions so they can improve their organization's commitment and in the end help them to boost their performance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Michael, I cut across on that. That completes the initial questions for that. We're entering the final part of the Viva because the panel also has to clear the room and have a conversation at some point. But let's move into the final 5 minutes of our conversation, or final 7 minutes or so of comment. The panel, I mean, there can be questions now from Anne, Marc, or Michael, whatever, Michel, whatever you wish to ask. Is there anything additional you want to ask?
No, we're fine there.
That's fine, thank you. I already asked 4 questions, I think that's enough.
Yeah, we are generous.
Michel,
I'm fine, thank you. No, I have no more questions. Thank you, Rick.
okay, Rick, is there anything you wish to, in the light of all the questions and the ideas you just reported on, anything you want to say additionally about your thesis, in the defense of your thesis, please?
Yeah. In the end, I don't have any questions, but I just want to take the chance to say my greatest appreciation to my supervisor, Professor Meyer. He supported me, helped me from the first day, helped me to enroll into this program, and guided me through all the difficulties. I think I'm not different compared to any other doctorate student. I was frustrated in some months, days. Professor Meyer really helped me to go through all the difficulties, and because we are the managers on the field, not really the PhD students. So we really need a lot of support from the BSI supervisors to guide us through to complete the whole journey of the 3 years. So I really appreciate Professor Meyer a lot. So on the other side, I also want to say all the work, all the organizations, all the step-by-step follow-up organized by the BSI really helps us to make progress, to check ourselves where we are, to put us on the right track until we can finally go to this stage. So that's all. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Just before we draw the session to conclusion, panel members, do you have anything final you wish to ask or say?
Yeah, Freckles, I can say some words too.
Of course. Can I just go around the panel first and then?
Okay.
Is that okay? Thank you, Lars. Michel, because you're remote, do you have anything you wish to say?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Michel. We'll go to Anne.
Everything's fine.
Okay.
I have always to say something. Fine. I have enough days. Thank you very much.
So it's
No, sorry.
okay. So thank you very much. First of all, to the full panel of colleagues. Always a pleasure to be with you, and I always appreciate the way how you evaluate, because it's a very fair way. It's critic, but it's fair. So the comments and criticisms are relevant, and that is why I really appreciate the way how the defense happens and happened today. So that's very, very nice experience as usual when I'm with you. Yeah, thanks to all. I think Marc said, thanks Frederick also. He said that we really organized well remotely very quickly. So thank you very much. Thanks to you. A big thanks also to Michel, because you know, your manager, you read the thesis, and so it's important at your point of view, but we know you're very busy, and so I appreciate that you did this job, but I think it's an important job for you too, because 1 year ago you were at the same place as Rick, so and I was actually in your panel. So
yeah, indeed, yeah.
The different roles.
Different role. You were tweeting 1 year ago. Yeah, that's why. For
Just mindful of time.
so now some words to you, Rick. Thank you very much for your presentation, for giving me the opportunity to work with you. It's very special for me today because there are different cross events. The first event is the first DBA of Bangkok Bangkok badge, which is defended today. I'm very proud that we went through. I come a little bit back to the history, but very nice to do that. So you're also the first PBA I make defense. So you're always like I remember my first PhD. Very special because it's like a child. Just for me. So that's very important, and it's also important. I make defense in OB here in the brought by Marc. So because it's especially difficult because you have the specialist in the law of management next. So was not bad. I think you did a good job. I think we did a good job together. And yeah, that's why. Don't worry, I have two, 3 other minutes.
No, we have a lot of work to do, so just fine.
I remember when we met, we started actually the model. Always remember the good time we had in the rooftop bar. The model started there. Actually, we met first in and then actually everything went very smooth, because you're very self-determined, and always motivated, always want to advance, and so it was a pleasure to work with you. Very efficient, always 1 hour was enough to make it advance. That's why people are very smart and work very smartly. I also appreciate another anecdote is when the COVID came. We did not see a lot really, but with the COVID, he took care about me because in France we had no mask. And Rick sent me a big box with COVID masks. So that's also very nice. I need to be chair now, and I just need to draw things together because we've got work to do. Can you draw things to conclusion? Yeah, I conclude. So thank you very much, Rick. I have a lot of things to thank you, but I think we will see again either in Shanghai when I come, either what we wanted to do also. Meet at Comac, where the other students and Jens present. And so we will meet again. I'm looking forward to it again, and I'm very proud of the job you did over the last 3 years and the job you did today. Congratulations all. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Right, we've now entered the part of the proceedings where Rick, you need to be temporarily put in a waiting room. Just while we make deliberations, and then you'll come back in and the panel will announce the findings and the outcome from this Viva. We will also empty the room during that time, if that's possible, please. Sorry to interrupt you. But the 3 panel members and myself will stay in the room. So, everybody settled? Great. Rick, you can hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Rick. The panel have deliberated and they have decided that you will be awarded a Doctor of Business Administration without any corrections. So it's the first category of award we award, i.e. there's no corrections there. And they were very, very, very impressed with your thesis. They were very impressed with your oral defense, and overall they're delighted. And of course, as Lars, your supervisor, indicated, it's quite a seminal moment, quite an important moment, because it's a new moment in the BSI, that history that you are creating. And so on behalf of the panel, and then I'll open the floor for comments from the panel who may wish to talk to you too, including your supervisor. I'd like to congratulate you, Dr. ZHAO.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. Frederick, Michel is back. He froze for a moment. Okay. Michel, as you're remote, is there anything you'd like to say at this point to Dr. ZHAO?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, Rick, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to read your thesis, and as you mentioned, it was for you more or less a training to the details of the Chinese versus Thai culture, and indeed that was for me very interesting to get into these details and to learn more about how the culture difficulties are for Asian people in another Asian country. Thank you very much. Pleasure to read your thesis.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the DBA club.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To remember next year.
I need two, congratulations, Philip.
Hopefully in Europe next year can join us here. Congrats, Rick. I'm really happy for you. Happy for your family. Your family can be proud of you now. Even before, but now. So, greetings to your wife, your daughter, and your parents, and so really can celebrate. I hope I can bring a bottle of champagne.
A big one. All the best with everything.
Do we have Mark, do you have any final things you say, or were you okay?
I said it in Chinese. I did my best.
Lovely. Once again, Rick, thanks very much. Rick, is there anything you want to say finally? We'll give the final words to you as it's your day.
No, actually, thanks for all your nice words and comments. It has not been easy 3 years, but I'm glad I'm through now. So really, thank you everyone. Thank you for your comments. I will remember this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you, Rick. So much.
Yeah.
Michel,
Bye.
thank you so much, and thanks for being patient with the technology and everything. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Not
Bye.
a problem. Have
Yeah,
a nice day.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.